Coach, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of questions leading into this was like, well, why do you play a game like this? I felt like everything leading up to the game, starting with when we arrived at the hotel and we came in this morning for kind of the game preparation, it felt very much like postseason play. Just did. The venue, beautiful venue. This is an awesome place. It smells like cattle because they've had the rodeo here for the last 24 days, but it's a beautiful venue. And then just all the protocol that you have at a tournament we had this morning, like a very strict amount of time on the clock, can't touch the balls, all the postseason places you play in the NCAA tournament, the ACC tournament are gorgeous venues like this one, neutral site. So I kept telling myself this is really cool because it is when we get there in several weeks, whenever that comes. It was good preparation for that. So long trip, we're gone for 5 days. My hope and my prayer is that our guys during these 5 days together continue to come together and build our bond even stronger. Proud of our guys, proud of this guy. He's one of the best leaders that I've ever coached. He's one of those guys where you count down the days in a sad way that the end's coming eventually. Hopefully it's in the national championship game where I won't get to coach him anymore because he's about all the right stuff. Phenomenal leader. I thought he really got us going in the second half. We were over dribbling, we were struggling to get a rhythm offensively. We really started playing inside out, and it started with him. Threw it to him in the post, got him downhill off some pick and rolls to exploit some mismatches, and it really got us going. This is a very physical team, very good offensive rebounding team, one of the best in the country. Could have been better in that regard, but they have the three big guys that we focused on was number 24, number 43, and number 5, and they were combined 6 for 34 from the field. We fouled too much, but overall I was proud of that defensive effort. So fortunate to get the win. Now we got to flip the switch from this non-conference, neutral site type game, and then get our minds right back into the guts of conference play in a couple days.
Questions for Javon? Microphones.
So what to you was the difference defensively in the second half? It seemed like first half it was rebounds and free throws that enabled them to go in tied up. But what changed in that first 10 minutes to open?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to give all the glory to God. We wouldn't be here without him. And to answer your question, I would just say we were more active. We really harp on that. We really, talk as a team constantly about being active in gaps, disrupting teams, staying together, like helping each other out. And, in the first half, we weren't, doing that to, our standard. And in the second half, Michael really got in passing lanes. Our guards really disrupted them. And, it ignited a lot of our offense, transition buckets. We disrupted them, and that's what really helped our offense go.
What's kind of the key for you and your teammates, as you get into this stretch run? I know Coach talks about, being consistent all the time. Like, is that really the biggest thing? And how does a game like this kind of test your all's consistency in a way?
Yeah, I would say, credit to Baylor. Like, they're a really good offensive rebounding team, physical, like Coach, touched on. That's obviously one of the big keys that we, zoned in on coming into this game. And, we obviously could do a better job with that. But, we did a solid job. And, we just have to continue to stay together as a team, like consistent, like you talked about. But, staying together ultimately, like, in those last couple of minutes, they started pressing us and, getting a little crazy. And, we threw a couple, unneeded turnovers and stuff like that. But, we came to a huddle and talked about it. Like, guys, like, we have to figure this out, right now. And, I'm proud of our guys for that, just sticking together. And we have to continue to do that down the road.
Do you feel like as the season's gone on, because at different stages we've kind of heard about how you guys have all stepped up and talked and kind of like shared your piece about, and just like being leaders. Do you feel like as the season's gone, like the group has gotten, even more comfortable with each other and you kind of like pushing each other?
For sure. I mean, our team is, as vocal as a team as I've ever been on, honestly. We have guys, Michael, freshman guys that, are just coming into the college scene and, they don't talk like freshmen. They're in the huddle. He's talking about things. Our coaching staff has done a really good job of letting us figure it out in the huddles first. Whenever, we have a bad little, we call them wars, like they little 3-minute hits or something like that. And, when we have a bad one or not to our standard one, the coaching staff does a really good job of letting us talk about it first, and that gives our guys a chance to talk about what the problem is, because we're out there on the floor together, so we have to figure the problems out together ultimately, and we've done a really good job of that. Guys stepping up, like I said, freshmen, some of our older guys, I'm proud of our guys for being as vocal as ever.
Javon, obviously you want to be playing your best ball going into March. To that end, how different does it feel now in terms of like the continuity, the chemistry, as opposed to a month ago when it was kind of like Michael was out in and out of the lineup, Kanai missed a few games. Like, how different does it feel now in terms of that?
Yeah, it's always good to have sort of a rhythm. Like our offense, it's always good to have a rhythm, and it helps our defense ultimately. But having our deep roster healthy, guys coming in for however many minutes that you can play, like that's your job. At the end of the day, you may not like it, you may like it. What I mean? It's just that type of thing. You got to get the job done, and we just do a really good job of doing our job at the end of the day. Like that's all it really is. Just doing your job, whatever it is. Just do it to your standard.
Thanks, Javon.
Appreciate it.
Questions for Coach Johnson?
Yeah, we'll start just by asking about the crowd. I mean, Russ asked you yesterday, like, if you thought it'd be like a neutral site game because of how close we are, to Baylor's campus, but it really did feel split in a way. Just any thoughts about how?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Card Nation does. This is one of the most passionate fan bases in the country. We're a long way from the crib. Long way. And you look up there and there's a bunch of red, and you can feel their energy, you can hear them. After the game, I pinch myself all the time when I remind myself I'm the head coach at Louisville, but we travel, one of the best fan bases in the history of collegiate basketball, so appreciate them being there tonight. It did, it was there wasn't a lot of people in there, but you got to remember, for the first 900 years of my career, those were the crowds I coached in front of, so I was like right at home.
Coach, obviously Michael was coming off the 45 point. There was a stretch early in the second half where it was a tie game. You guys went on an 11-3 run where you had 2 steals, 3 assists, and had something in all those points. What does it say about him in stretches like that? But it's not just about the points. It's more than that.
He had 5 steals. He, one thing they were doing is they were trying to exploit matchups in the first half, and they would get one of their bigger guys on a switch out at the top. And Kel a couple times, I think Adrian one time, our guards were kind of melting, right? They were going death by inches and backing us in, and then making little chippies. And we say all the time, we pride ourselves on, we call that sternum. Like, you got to hit them with your sternum, and you can't give up a stinking floorboard. And it's hard because they're outweighed by 50, 60 pounds, but Kel was the first one of our guards when we addressed it. Next time they came out, they went at him again, and they tried to hit him, and he was a brick wall. He didn't move. And that set the tone, I think, for the rest of the game for all of our guards. And we didn't give up floorboards, and that toughness set the tone, I think, from a defensive standpoint. Talk about the steals and igniting our fast break. People talk all the time about Kel scoring and stuff like that. It was, in terms of accepting that one-on-one challenge, bow in his neck, grit in his teeth, that was something I was really proud of today.
Coach, obviously, leading into the game, Michael had a fantastic game on Monday. Do you think it's as simple for him as he's finally catching the rhythm, coming back from injury, and shots are going in? Or do you think there's been a change in approach that's led to this efficient play from him?
He never got discouraged, never panicked, never nothing. He just kept doing what he was doing and was really good in the process. We talked about it with these guys, the Louisville guys, that there was a frustration level because he knew the caliber of scorer and shooter that he was. But, I've said it many times, I just harped on the fact that the back of his bubblegum card says he's a phenomenal shooter. And then, the law of averages works itself out and the ball starts going in. But he's been affecting the game in so many ways outside of scoring. We all know in our program, from head to toe, head coach to the last player on the bench, the Duke game at Duke was an outlier where we just weren't ourselves. But outside that, man, he's He's been the quarterback on the floor. He's being so much more vocal. Vaughn said it. I love kind of like the ownership he's taking on the floor. He's a young guy compared to these other guys that are 5-6 years older than him in some instances. But he's speaking up, and he's the primary voice in that huddle many times. Over the last 3 or 4 games, I mean, there's been several instances where before I could call the next set, he would come over to me and tell me, here's what we're going to run. And I'd say, absolutely. You know, like, I love that when the point guard takes the ball. What time was the game today? 3, and they give it back to you safe and sound at 5. And when they got input, and even if it's a set I don't want to run, if he says it, we're running it, right? Because I want the rest of the guys to know that that's the quarterback on the floor. Proud of him. He's growing in so many ways. He's a great teammate, phenomenal kid. I'm just really proud of his growth.
You've had teams in your previous stops kind of get on a nice run about this time of the year going into the postseason. Do you feel like where your guys are now, like are you feeling like it's starting to come into form to be like a March-ready kind of team?
I love where our team's at. I love my team. I love everything about it. I love the competitive makeup of it. I love, the pieces and the talent they bring together. I love their approach. I love their professionalism. I love their selflessness. I love my team. I love my team, and I'm proud of them. And, just like when we got our butts kicked by 90 and everybody was, throwing dirt on them, now that we won a couple in a row and everybody's telling them how great they are, rat poison, putting blinders on, and we're going back to work, and we'll have a great day in our process tomorrow, resting, recovering, re-introing SMU. You go to a cool restaurant tomorrow night, which is awesome. We don't get to do that very often because you come in, fly in, play the games. That'll be something really cool. I hope I see Chip and Joanna Gaines walking around the streets of Fort Worth tomorrow, or Billy Bob Thornton, Tommy from Landman. I think it's pretty cool being out here because it's my favorite shows.
Yeah, I guess, did you get much of an explanation as to what happened with Kaysen and the technical foul in the first half, and he sat for the rest of the time, and then, being able to bring him back in the second half?
The explanation that I got was that he was talking to the bench.
And the next question I have is just, Frew has now made 14 consecutive shots going back to 3 games. I'm just wondering kind of what you've learned about trying to, keep him involved, and just, what kind of like works best for his game within the system that you guys like to operate as.
Man, Sonny is he's such a winner. Like, it's almost like I have to convince him that it's okay to miss a shot. Like, he wants to be efficient. Like, he is happy as a you-know-what if he's just like doing what he does, finishing plays around the rim, defending his butt off, offensive rebounding. He's a winning guy. He's a winning player. He's a great teammate. He understands his role. Yeah, being 14 for 14 out of his last, is that what it is?
Yeah, last
14 consecutive field goal attempts.
Yeah.
I guess his head coach needs to get a little smarter and figure out a way to get him more shots. But like I said, he does what he does. He's a major factor on our team and a big reason why we're really, really good. From a defensive standpoint, from a rebounding standpoint, offensively, he makes us go in a lot of ways down there between the pipes and the trenches.
I guess it's a kind of a similar situation because he is, this is like his first season in college, and you kind of see him getting more comfortable with this group as the season goes on.
Yeah, he's a man of very few words. He was telling me for a while, like, just because I'm pretty animated, and I'm telling him jokes all the time, and he's just real. Like, I told him, man, I got to put a mirror under your nose to see if you're breathing sometime. Like, give me something, and like, I'll tell the funniest joke I got, like my best material, and he'll just stare at me. Like, come on, man. But he's opening up more. I can make him laugh now. His teammates love him. He's a great dude, and he's actually really funny when you finally get him going, and when you get him talking, he's got a great sense of humor. Blessed to coach him, love having him, and really need him down the stretch.
All right, thanks, everybody.